Under the warm golden light of Arion's twin suns, the city of Terran shimmered like a jewel. The city stretched across silver plains where towers glowed softly, and wind carried the scent of crystal trees that hummed with energy. In this beautiful alien world lived a woman named Lunara, a proud citizen of Arion. Her skin shimmered faintly like polished glass, and her eyes glowed with soft light. The people of her world were gifted with energy control. They could shape light into form and move objects with their thoughts. Lunara's life had once been calm and predictable, until she met Ryan, a man from the small blue planet called Earth. When humans first arrived on Arion decades ago, they were seen as fragile beings. They had no energy control, no glowing eyes, and their physical strength seemed limited compared to Arionians. Yet something about them felt different. They had willpower that even the Council of Arion could not measure. Lunara met Ryan at a research outpost on the edge of Terran. He had come as a technician, working on small machines that supported energy flow in the towers. He was quiet, humble, and patient. He never showed anger, never raised his voice, and always helped others. His calm nature made Lunara curious. While others saw him as just another human worker, she found comfort in his company. Ryan always smiled when he spoke. His dark hair often fell over his eyes as he worked. He fixed complex devices that even trained Arion engineers could not understand. When asked how he did it, he only said, "It is simple logic and practice." No one believed him because his designs looked older than Arionian technology but worked better. Over time, Lunara and Ryan grew close. Their friendship turned into something deeper. Many Arionians whispered about it, surprised that one of their kind would choose a human partner. But Lunara cared little for their talk. She believed kindness was more powerful than bloodlines. They married quietly under the light of the twin suns with only a few friends to witness the moment. Months passed peacefully. They lived in a small home near the Crystal Gardens where Ryan built machines that hummed gently in the night. Lunara often watched him, wondering why he never seemed to sleep deeply. Sometimes she would wake in the middle of the night and find him sitting outside, looking at the stars. When she asked what he was thinking, he would smile softly and say, "Just remembering home." Life felt normal until the day of the energy storm. It was a day that changed everything she believed. The morning began like any other. The market was crowded, filled with traders from other worlds. Lunara held Ryan's hand as they walked between stalls. Vendors sold glowing fruit and small machines that floated in the air. The sound of laughter mixed with the hum of flying drones. Lunara enjoyed the noise and colors. Ryan, as usual, watched everything quietly. He always looked calm, as if nothing could ever disturb him. Suddenly, a sharp flash tore across the sky. The twin suns dimmed behind dark clouds that formed out of nowhere. A storm of energy waves roared down. The ground trembled as alarms filled the air. People screamed and ran for shelter. From above, a transport ship spun out of control. It had been caught in the storm's magnetic pull. The ship crashed into the upper towers, breaking apart. Burning fragments fell toward the market. Lunara reacted quickly, raising her hands and forming a glowing shield around a small group of people. The light pushed away falling metal and debris, but her strength faded fast. She could not hold it much longer. Her energy field flickered and a large metal beam broke free, falling toward her. Ryan moved before anyone else could. He ran through the chaos, his eyes focused. The beam fell and Lunara screamed his name, afraid he would be crushed. But what she saw next made her freeze in shock. Ryan caught the metal beam with his bare hands. The sound of impact echoed through the market. The ground cracked beneath his feet and a pulse of blue light flashed from his body. For a brief moment, his eyes glowed the same blue as the energy crystals of Arion. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the light vanished. He stood there holding the heavy beam as if it weighed nothing. People around them stared in disbelief. Ryan carefully lowered the beam aside, checked that no one was hurt, and turned to Lunara. His voice was calm, steady, and gentle. "Are you all right?" he asked. Lunara could not find words. Her hands trembled slightly. How did you do that?" she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Adrenaline, maybe. It happens sometimes in danger." He spoke lightly as if nothing strange had happened. But Lunara could not forget the blue glow in his eyes or the sound of the ground cracking beneath him. Arionian soldiers arrived soon after to handle the damage, and the crowd began to calm. Yet in Lunara's heart, questions began to grow. That night, While Rian repaired a small generator in their home, Lunara watched him silently. His hands were steady, and his expression peaceful, but she noticed small things she had never paid attention to before. The scars on his arms were not from normal accidents. They looked old, like marks from a different life. "Rian," she said softly, "today in the market, when you stopped that beam, your eyes glowed. I saw it clearly. Humans cannot do that." He paused for a moment, then continued working. "Maybe it was a reflection," he said. "I know what I saw," Lunara replied. "There was energy around you. It felt strong, older than anything I have felt before." He placed the tool down and turned to her. His eyes met hers calmly. "Lunara, some things are better left in silence. I promise you there is nothing to fear." "But why hide it?" she asked gently. "We are married. I trust you with my life. Why can you not trust me with your truth?" Ryan looked away for a moment, his voice quiet. "Because some truths change everything. I did not want to lose this peace we have." Lunara felt a mix of love and confusion. She wanted to press him for answers, but something in his expression told her not to. He was not lying to protect himself. He was hiding something heavy, something painful. When night came, Ryan went outside as usual to watch the stars. Lunara followed him silently and stood beside him. The twin suns had set, and the sky was full of bright constellations. The air was calm again. "You always look at the stars," she said. "Do they remind you of Earth?" He nodded. "Yes, and of what came before." Lunara tilted her head slightly. "Before what?" Ryan smiled, but it was not the same gentle smile she knew. It was sad, distant. "Before humans were seen as weak," he said. She waited for him to explain more, but he stayed quiet. His gaze remained fixed on the sky as if he was searching for something far away. Inside her, curiosity burned stronger than ever. The man she thought was ordinary had caught falling metal with his bare hands and glowed with the power of the world itself. He spoke of things that felt older than history. As the night deepened, she whispered to herself, "Who are you really, Ryan?" He turned slightly as if he had heard her and smiled again. "Someone who loves you," he said simply. That answer should have been enough, but the questions in her heart only grew. She looked up at the stars again, feeling the faint hum of energy in the air. Somewhere among those stars she sensed a hidden story, one that her husband carried in silence. And though she did not know it yet, the truth about Ryan would soon shake not only her life, but the entire world of Arian. Days passed after the strange event in the market, but the image of Ryan catching the heavy beam never left Lunara's mind. Every time she looked at him, she remembered how his eyes had glowed with that strange blue light. It was not a trick of reflection. She had felt the pulse of energy in the air, something pure and powerful that no ordinary human could create. Ryan continued his life as if nothing had happened. He worked in his small workshop, repairing damaged machines from the market and adjusting energy converters for neighbors. He smiled often, spoke kindly, and showed no sign of worry. Yet Lunara could sense something hidden deep inside him. He was calm on the surface, but there was a shadow behind his quiet eyes. One afternoon, while Ryan was out delivering repairs, Lunara sat by the window watching the suns sink below the horizon. The sky turned orange and gold. She thought about the time they met and how peaceful her life had been before doubt entered her heart. She loved Rian, but she also feared what she did not understand. Her close friend Vera came to visit that evening. Vera was bold and curious, always talking about the latest news from the outer colonies. She noticed Lunara's thoughtful face and asked, "You seem lost in your mind. What troubles you?" Lunara hesitated, then said, "Vera, have you ever felt that someone you know hides something great, something far beyond what they show?" Vera's eyes narrowed. "You mean Ryan?" Lunara nodded slowly. "Something happened during the storm. He did something impossible." Vera leaned forward, her voice low. "There are stories about humans, you know. Some people say they are not as weak as they appear. The Council never speaks of it. But I have heard traders whisper about a time before Earth joined the network. They say humans once built warriors that even the Dominion feared." Lunara frowned. "Warriors? Humans cannot even control energy. That is what we are told," Vera replied. "But think about it. They come from a world full of storms and danger. They survived long before they had technology like ours. Maybe they found another kind of strength." The idea stayed in Lunara's heart long after Vera left. Could Rian be one of those forgotten warriors, It seemed impossible, yet she could not deny what she had seen with her own eyes. That night when Ryan returned home, she tried to act normal, but her curiosity grew stronger. He noticed her silence and asked gently, "Is something wrong?" She forced a smile. "No, I am just thinking." He reached out and took her hand. "Do not think too much, Lunara. The world has enough worries already." His smile was kind, but there was something behind it. Something that said he knew more than he wanted to share. When he went to sleep, Lunara stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. The faint hum of his machines filled the room. Then she heard a soft sound outside. She got up quietly and looked through the window. Ryan was walking away from the house carrying a small metallic case. The night was silent and the stars shone bright above him. Curiosity pushed her to follow. She moved carefully, keeping her distance as he walked beyond the energy towers and into the forest. The forest of Terran glowed with soft blue light from plants that stored energy. The air smelled of iron and ozone. Lunara followed the narrow path until Ryan stopped near an old hill. He knelt and pressed his hand against a stone. The ground responded, sliding open to reveal a hidden metal door. Lunara gasped softly. She had never seen this place before. Ryan entered the passage and disappeared inside. After a moment, she stepped closer and peered through the doorway. The tunnel led to a small chamber filled with strange objects. Machines hummed softly, covered in dust. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding a silver cube that shone faintly. Ryan placed the case beside it and opened it. Inside was a device shaped like a bracelet covered in unknown symbols. He touched the cube and suddenly light filled the chamber. A holographic projection rose into the air, a map of stars. Among them glowed one symbol, a silver eagle with broken wings. Ryan's voice was low but clear. "Project Dawn, active protocol." The cube answered with a soft tone. "Commander Rian, identity confirmed. Vanguard Unit 1 awake." Lunara covered her mouth to stop a gasp. The cube spoke as if it knew him. Rian sighed. "I hoped I would never need to open this again." He placed the bracelet on his arm. It pulsed with blue light, then dimmed again. He stood in silence for a long time, then closed the cube and sealed the chamber. When he left, Lunara hid behind a tree until he was gone. Her heart raced as she walked home. The words echoed in her mind. Project Dawn, Commander Ryan, Vanguard Unit. She understood none of them, but she knew one thing for sure. Her husband was not who she thought he was. The next morning, she tried to act normal again. Ryan made tea as usual, and they sat together in silence. She looked at him across the table, wanting to ask about what she had seen, but fear held her back. He noticed her distant look. "You are thinking again," he said softly. Lunara forced a smile. "You always seem to know when I do." "It is your eyes," he said. "They shine more when you worry." His words warmed her heart, but at the same time they reminded her of how mysterious he was. She wanted to trust him, yet she could not erase the image of him standing before that glowing cube. Later that day, she went to visit Vera again. She told her everything she had seen. Vera listened with wide eyes. "A secret chamber? A cube that speaks?" "Lunara, this is not something small. If the council learns about this, they will take him away for questioning." "I do not want that," Lunara said quickly. "I only want to understand who he really is." Vera placed a hand on her shoulder. "Be careful. Curiosity can be dangerous when secrets are old." While they talked, the sky outside darkened. The suns disappeared behind thick clouds and the sound of thunder rolled across the plains. From the horizon, glowing shapes appeared in the sky. Ships, large and dark, slid through the clouds. They carried a symbol that froze everyone in fear. It was the mark of the Karn Dominion, a powerful empire that had conquered many worlds. Within moments, alarms rang across Terran. The people ran to shelters as the ships descended. The Dominion had come without warning. Lunara ran back home to find Ryan standing outside staring at the sky. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "Ryan, the Dominion is here," she said in panic. "We must go to the shelter." He shook his head slowly. "No, I have been waiting for this." "What do you mean?" she asked. He looked at her with steady eyes. "Lunara, listen carefully. No matter what happens tonight, stay inside. Do not follow me." "Rian, you cannot face them alone," she said firmly. "They will destroy everything." He reached out and touched her cheek gently. "Trust me once more," he said. "Please." Before she could speak again, he turned and walked away toward the open field. His steps were silent, but his presence felt different now. The quiet, gentle man she loved seemed to fade, replaced by someone stronger, someone ready for something greater. Lunara stood frozen as the sky filled with enemy ships. Beams of light flashed as the first attack began. The ground shook and explosions echoed across the city. She watched helplessly as Ryan disappeared into the storm of light. Inside her heart, fear and wonder mixed together. The man she had thought was ordinary was walking into battle against an empire. She whispered to herself, "Who are you, Ryan?" Far above the city, hidden among the clouds, a single craft separated from the Dominion fleet. It moved with unnatural speed and precision. Inside it, a system came to life, glowing with the same blue energy she had seen before. And at that moment, the people of Arian were about to learn that humans were not as simple as they seemed. The sky over Terran burned with red light as the ships of the Karn Dominion descended like dark clouds. The air trembled with the sound of their engines, and flashes of energy bolts lit the towers. The peaceful city that had always glowed with calm light was now shaking under the weight of war. Lunara stood near the window of her home, watching in fear as the attack began. People ran through the streets and alarms echoed across the city. The energy shields of the outer towers tried to rise but failed under the power of the Dominion's cannons. The sound of metal and thunder mixed in the air. She wanted to run to Ryan, but his words echoed in her mind. "Stay inside. Do not follow me." She could not understand why he had said that, yet something in his voice told her it was not fear, but certainty. He knew something she did not. In the distance, she saw a bright flash that did not come from the Dominion ships. A single small craft broke through the clouds, moving faster than any Arionian fighter. It was dark gray with blue lines that glowed like running fire. The craft turned sharply and shot toward the enemy fleet. Inside that craft sat Ryan. His hands moved over glowing panels and his eyes reflected the light of the screens. The device he had taken from the secret chamber now covered his arm like living metal. It was part of the ancient human armor known as Vanguard. As the system activated, a soft voice filled the cockpit. "Commander Ryan, systems are ready. Energy core stable. Enemy ships detected." Ryan spoke calmly. "Set defense protocol. Engage." Blue light surrounded his craft and energy shields spread outward. The first Dominion fighter fired, but the blast bounced off his barrier. Ryan turned his ship sharply and released a pulse wave that hit 3 enemy ships at once. The wave broke their shields and sent them crashing into each other. From the ground, Arionian soldiers watched in disbelief. They had never seen a human ship move like that. The people began to whisper among themselves as they saw one small craft fighting the entire fleet alone. Lunara ran outside despite the danger. She wanted to see with her own eyes. The sky was alive with fire, but above the chaos she saw the small gray craft glowing bright blue. It danced between the Dominion ships like a streak of lightning. In the command hall of Terran, the Arionian council members watched the battle on large screens. "Who is this pilot?" one asked in shock. "No Arionian ship moves with that speed." Another officer checked the signal. "The identification code belongs to a human." "Dame Pran of Earth, a human?" the leader said, unable to believe it. Impossible, but the proof was right before their eyes. Ryan's ship moved through the fleet, breaking their formation. Every time the Dominion tried to trap him, his ship disappeared and reappeared behind them, striking with precise shots. His voice came through the open channel. "This is Commander Ryan of Earth's First Vanguard," he said firmly. "Arian is under my protection. All Dominion forces stand down or be destroyed." His words carried across every channel. The people of Arian who heard them felt something new, a sense of hope. Until that moment, they had thought of humans as simple and powerless. Now one human was facing an empire alone. The Dominion fleet responded with fury. They turned all their weapons on him, filling the sky with energy beams. Ryan's ship trembled under the hits, but the Vanguard armor glowed brighter. He activated the core shield and sent another blast of blue energy across the battlefield. The explosion tore through the enemy lines. Inside the ship, the system voice spoke again. "Warning. Power at 60%. Core overheating." Ryan took a deep breath. "Maintain focus. We hold until the Arionians regroup." On the ground, Lunara watched as more Arionian fighters joined the sky. Inspired by Ryan's courage, they formed ranks and followed his lead. Together, they pushed the Dominion back. For the first time, the battle began to turn. Yet even as the enemy retreated, Ryan's ship began to shake. The energy core flickered. He had pushed it too far. Smoke filled the cockpit and warning lights flashed. With one last command, he directed the remaining power to the main weapon and fired a final pulse. It hit the largest Dominion carrier, breaking its hull in half. The rest of the fleet turned and began to flee. The people of Terran cheered as the enemy ships vanished beyond the clouds. The sky cleared slowly and the sun shone once again over the battered city. Lunara's heart raced. She saw the small craft descending toward the field outside the city. She ran through the streets, her feet splashing through pools of rain and ash. The city was filled with noise, people shouting, soldiers helping the wounded, but all she could think of was Ryan. When she reached the field, the small craft was half buried in dust. The blue light from its engines faded. She ran to it and pulled open the hatch. Inside, Ryan sat quietly, breathing heavily. His armor was cracked and darkened, but his eyes were calm. "Ryan," she said, tears filling her eyes. "You are alive," he smiled faintly. "I promised you, did I not?" She touched his arm. The armor felt warm, almost alive. "What is this?" she asked softly. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he removed the armor piece from his arm and placed it in her hands. "This is from Earth's past," he said. "A reminder of what we once were." Lunara looked at the glowing lines on the device. "You were hiding this all along." "Why?" he sighed. "Because I wanted to live a normal life. I wanted to believe the war was over, that the world no longer needed weapons like me." "But you are not a weapon," she said firmly. "You are my husband. You saved us all." Ryan smiled again, though his eyes looked tired. "There was a time when humans built machines to fight for survival. We called ourselves vanguards. We were made to protect others, even at the cost of our peace. When Earth fell, we vanished into history. I was one of the few who remained. I thought that part of me was gone forever." He looked at the burning skyline of Terran. "But today reminded me that peace sometimes needs strength to survive." Lunara sat beside him as he rested. She could feel the warmth of his energy through the armor. It was strange and powerful, yet gentle. The same warmth she had always felt when he smiled at her. As they sat in silence, the people of Arian gathered around the field. Soldiers and civilians alike looked at the human who had saved them. Some bowed, others cheered. The leader of the Arionian Council arrived and spoke with deep respect. "Human Ryan, you have our eternal gratitude. You defended us when we could not defend ourselves." Ryan shook his head. "I only did what was right. Arian gave me a home. I could not watch it fall." The council leader nodded. "Your courage has shown us that strength does not always come from power, but from heart. You have changed how our people see humanity." As the crowd cheered again, Lunara looked at her husband with pride and love. The man she once thought ordinary had become the symbol of hope for an entire world. Later that night, when the city lights returned and the damage began to heal, Ryan and Lunara stood on their home's balcony. The sky was calm again. "You risked everything today," she said quietly. "You could have died." He placed his hand over hers. "If I had not done it, others would have. I only gave what I could." She looked up at him with a soft smile. "You said humans were weak once, but today you showed what true strength means." Ryan looked at the stars. "Strength is not about how much power one holds. It is about what one protects." Lunara rested her head on his shoulder. The city below was peaceful once more. Yet deep inside, Ryan knew the Dominion would return. The fight was not over, but for that night they had hope, and in that moment Lunara understood the truth. Her human husband had always been more than he appeared. He carried the heart of a protector, the will of a world that refused to break. The people of Arian slept under safe skies once again, never forgetting the human who stood against an empire and won. The battle over Terran had ended, but the city was far from peaceful. Buildings were damaged, streets were cracked, and small fires still burned across the plains. Yet the people of Arian had hope in their hearts. They had witnessed something extraordinary, something they would not forget. A single human had faced the Dominion fleet and protected an entire city. Lunara walked through the streets with Ryan. The air smelled of smoke and energy discharge. Children ran past them, laughing despite the chaos. The adults looked at Ryan with a mix of fear and admiration. No one could believe a human had done what he had. She kept close to him, holding his hand tightly. "Ryan," she said softly, "people will not forget today. The council will want to know everything about you." He nodded. I know. It is time they learn the truth. The two of them walked toward the Arionian Council Hall. Soldiers lined the streets, bowing respectfully as Ryan passed. It was a strange feeling for him, seeing the world react to him not as a man but as a protector. He had always tried to live quietly, avoiding attention. Yet the moment of truth had arrived, and there was no way to hide anymore. Inside the council hall, high ceilings reflected the light of energy crystals embedded in the walls. The council members waited in silence, their faces serious. The leader of the council, a tall Arionian named Kalen, motioned for them to sit. Human Ryan, Kalen began, his voice firm but respectful. You have protected our city and saved countless lives. We must understand who you are and what power you carry. Ryan sat calmly, placing his hands on the table. I will answer all your questions, he said. I will tell the truth about who I am. He began with his past. He spoke of Earth, a world far from Arion, where humans had once built warriors to protect not only their own planet but other weaker worlds. They called these warriors vanguards. The technology was advanced but hidden. After a great war that destroyed many civilizations, the vanguards were supposed to disappear. Ryan was one of the few who survived. The council listened in silence. Some leaned forward, trying to understand the story. Others whispered among themselves, shocked that humans could carry such a legacy. I was put into a type of cryo-sleep for centuries, Ryan explained. When I woke, Earth's system had collapsed and the vanguards were forgotten. I chose to live quietly among Arionians, hoping to leave that part of my life behind. But why marry an Arionian woman? Kalen asked. Why reveal yourself now? Ryan looked at Lunara and smiled softly. I wanted a life that was not defined by war or power. Lunara gave me that. But today the Dominion reminded me that the past cannot always stay hidden. Power comes with responsibility, and I had to act. A younger council member, Mira, spoke cautiously. You fought alone against an entire fleet and survived. Your armor, your abilities, they are unlike anything we have seen. Are there others like you? Ryan shook his head. Few remain. Humanity's vanguards are rare and most are lost. I am one of the last, but I do not fight for glory. I fight to protect. The council exchanged looks. Some Arionians were skeptical, but the evidence was undeniable. The fleet had been repelled and Ryan had saved Terran. There was no denying the truth. Kalen leaned back in his chair. Then we are grateful, Ryan. You have shown that humanity carries more than we believed. Perhaps our view of your kind must change. Brian nodded respectfully. That is not enough, Kalen. The Dominion will return. They will not forget this defeat. We must prepare if we want to survive next time. Lunara placed her hand on his arm. We will face them together, she said firmly. You do not have to carry this alone. Ryan looked at her with a mixture of love and gratitude. Her presence calmed him in ways no technology ever could. I am grateful, Lunara, he said. Your strength is part of mine. Outside the council hall, the citizens gathered to celebrate their victory. Children waved small flags with blue and gold symbols. Merchants opened their stalls again, selling food and simple machines. Despite the destruction, life began to return to Terran. But Ryan's mind was already thinking beyond the celebrations. The Dominion's attack had been only the beginning. He had seen their fleet, their weapons, and the way they struck fear into weaker worlds. They would come back stronger, and he needed allies. He walked with Lunara to their home as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet. The Dominion is not finished, he said quietly. I know it. They will come again, and next time they will not give us warning. Lunara looked at him with determination. Then we will be ready. You have strength, yes, but together we are stronger. The people of Terran will stand with you. Rian nodded. Yes, but we must teach them more than fear. We must teach them hope and courage. That is the true strength of humanity. Over the next days, the city worked to rebuild. Ryan assisted engineers in reinforcing energy towers and repairing damaged shields. He taught Arionian soldiers tactics that were unfamiliar to them, strategies he had learned as a vanguard. Lunara worked alongside him, channeling her energy to protect workers as they rebuilt. The citizens began to see a new side of humans through Ryan. He was no longer the quiet technician who fixed machines. He was a teacher, a protector, and a symbol of courage. Children would gather near him to watch as he demonstrated small displays of strength, moving heavy stones or repairing energy conduits with ease. Adults would whisper among themselves about the calm determination that humans carried. One evening, Ryan and Lunara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The streets below glowed softly with energy lamps, and the rebuilt towers reflected the light of the twin suns. "You see," Ryan said, "power alone is not enough. It is the heart and will that define strength. Humanity has survived thousands of years not because of our weapons, but because of our determination to protect those we love." Lunara rested her head on his shoulder. "And you have shown that today. You did not fight for glory. You fought for people who could not defend themselves." Ryan smiled faintly. "That is all a protector can do. And you, Lunara, are part of this strength. Without you, I would not have the courage to stand." Days passed and the city slowly returned to normal life. Traders arrived from other planets to help repair the city, and children laughed once more in the streets. Yet the people could not forget the day a human fought an empire alone. Ryan had changed the way they saw humans forever. Lunara noticed small changes in him as well. He no longer moved quietly through the home. His presence carried authority and calm power. He taught her new ways to focus energy and combine their abilities. Together, they discovered that her energy and his vanguard technology could amplify each other. The combination created shields and pulses of light stronger than any Arionian machine. "It is remarkable," Lunara said one evening. "Our powers work together. We could protect an entire city if we wanted." Ryan shook his head gently. "We must protect without fear. Strength is not just about fighting. It is about inspiring others to be brave. We show them the way, but they must choose to stand." The next challenge came quietly. Scouts from the Dominion had returned unseen, testing the defenses of Terran. Ryan discovered their movements through small sensors hidden across the plains. He began planning quietly, reinforcing defenses and teaching the citizens how to respond. Lunara stood beside him during the exercises. She saw him giving commands, teaching children and adults alike, and realized that this was the life he had always been trained for. Yet, even after centuries, he had not lost the gentle heart she loved. One night after training, Lunara asked him, "Ryan, when did you learn all this? The strategies, the armor, the technology?" He looked at her softly. "Since before humans even dreamed of space travel. The vanguards were prepared for every challenge, every enemy. I was trained to protect. I never thought I would need to use it here on a quiet planet like Arion. But life is full of surprises." She held his hand tightly. "And I will be with you through every challenge. You no longer carry this alone." Ryan looked at her with deep appreciation. "Thank you, Lunara. Your trust and courage are part of why humans are strong. Strength is not just about abilities. It is about heart, love, and unity. That is what the Dominion does not understand. That is why we will win if they return." That night they stood together on the balcony looking up at the stars. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky full of distant lights. Somewhere among them were the fleets of the Dominion, plotting their next attack. But for the first time, Ryan felt hope. Humanity had been underestimated, but that weakness had always been a secret strength. And with Lunara beside him, he knew that whatever came next, they could face it together. The people of Arion had seen the truth. Humans were not ordinary. Humans were protectors, teachers, and carriers of hope. And Ryan, once thought to be simple and quiet, had revealed the strength that had been waiting for centuries to shine. The sun rose over Terran, casting soft golden light across the city that had barely recovered from the Dominion's first attack. The streets were quiet now, but the tension in the air was heavy. Ryan knew the Dominion would return. Their scouts had already been spotted at the edges of the system. They would come with more ships, more weapons, and greater force than before. He stood on the balcony of their home, looking out at the city below. Lunara joined him, placing her hand on his shoulder. Her presence was steady, comforting, and strong. Together they had rebuilt hope for Terran, but the true test was coming. "They will not wait long," Ryan said quietly. "We must prepare now. The Dominion does not forgive weakness," Lunara nodded. "Then we will not show it. We will protect everyone together." Ryan smiled faintly. "Yes, together." For the next few days, Ryan worked tirelessly. He reinforced the city's energy shields, taught soldiers new defensive strategies, and integrated vanguard technology into Arionian systems. Lunara worked beside him, her energy amplifying his devices, creating new barriers stronger than anything Arionian engineers had ever seen. Word of their teamwork spread quickly. Citizens volunteered to assist with repairs, soldiers trained harder than ever, and even children learned the basic principles of defense. Ryan's calm leadership inspired everyone. They were no longer afraid of the Dominion. They were ready to stand. One evening, as the twin suns set, a shadow passed over the city. The Dominion fleet had returned, larger and more menacing than before. Their massive war engines blocked the horizon, glowing red and black, casting an ominous light across Terran. The citizens gathered, fear rising in their hearts, but Ryan's presence calmed them. He stood tall in his vanguard armor, its blue light steady and strong. Lunara stood beside him, her hands glowing softly with energy. Together they were a beacon of hope. "Listen to me," Ryan said, his voice carrying across the city. "Do not panic. Follow the instructions of the soldiers. Protect yourselves, but do not run. We will face them and win." The Dominion's war engines fired first, sending enormous energy waves toward the city. Shields rose automatically, reinforced by the combined power of Ryan's vanguard armor and Lunara's energy. The first waves bounced harmlessly, creating a protective dome over Terran. Ryan's ship, now fully integrated with the armor system, hovered above the city. He fired pulses of concentrated energy at the Dominion engines, breaking their formation. Yet the enemy was relentless. They had learned from their last defeat. Their largest war engine, a towering machine filled with glowing red energy, moved toward the city. Its weapons were massive, capable of destroying entire blocks. Lunara stood beside Ryan. "We cannot let that engine reach the city," she said, her eyes glowing. Ryan nodded. "We will stop it together." He extended his hands, and his armor projected a wave of blue energy. Lunara joined him, merging her energy with his. The two streams combined, forming a massive shield that enveloped the city and surged outward. The Dominion engine collided with the wave. Sparks and flames erupted, but it moved forward, larger and heavier than anticipated. Ryan's face was calm, but inside, he calculated every possibility. The engine was too strong to destroy with a single strike. He needed to focus his energy, push past limits he had never reached. Lunara noticed the change and stayed close, lending her energy to stabilize his armor. The citizens watched from below, their fear turning into awe. They had never seen such power, such control. Humans and Arionians stood together, fighting as one. Children cheered, adults held shields for protection, and soldiers followed Ryan's commands without hesitation. Ryan activated the full core of the vanguard armor. Blue energy surged around him, forming a sphere larger than any human had ever created. The force pushed the Dominion fleet backward. Beams that had once been deadly now shattered against the shield. "Lunara now," Ryan shouted. She concentrated, pouring all her energy into the sphere. The combined light became a pulse of pure power that shot forward, hitting the Dominion war engine squarely. The ground shook and the sky lit up brighter than the twin suns. The war engine exploded, breaking into pieces that fell harmlessly outside the city. The rest of the Dominion fleet faltered. Seeing their largest weapon destroyed, their formations broke. Ryan struck again and again, his armor glowing brighter with every pulse. The Dominion ships tried to retreat, but he chased them, precise and unstoppable. Hours passed, yet Ryan never slowed. Lunara stayed at his side, guiding and amplifying his energy. Together they pushed the Dominion fleet entirely out of the Aryan system. When the last ship disappeared into space, silence fell over the battlefield. Terran had survived. The citizens erupted into cheers. They had witnessed the impossible. A human, once believed to be ordinary, had faced an empire and won. They looked at Ryan not just as a protector, but as a symbol of courage and unity. Exhausted, Ryan landed near the city square. The armor slowly powered down and he stepped out, tired but smiling. Lunara was immediately at his side, holding his hand. "You did it," she said softly. "You saved everyone." He looked around at the cheering crowd. "We did it," he corrected. "All of us together. Humanity gave its strength, but Arionians gave their courage. That is why we stand." Children ran forward to touch the armor, fascinated by its glowing lines. Soldiers bowed, citizens clapped, and even the council members approached with respect. Kalen, the council leader, spoke first. "Ryan, your actions have changed our world," he said. "You have shown us that humans are not weak. You have shown us that strength comes from heart, courage, and unity. Terran owes you its life." Ryan nodded humbly. "I only did what was right. Strength alone is nothing if it is not used to protect others. Humanity has learned this through centuries of struggle, and today I am proud to stand with all of you. Lunara looked at him with deep admiration. The man she thought ordinary had revealed a strength beyond imagination, a strength born of love, courage, and will. "You are more than I ever imagined," she said. "You carry the heart of every human, every person who ever refused to give up." Ryan smiled softly. "And you carry part of it too, Lunara. You give courage, hope, and love. Together, nothing can stop us." The city slowly returned to normal life, but something had changed forever. Humans were no longer seen as weak. They were seen as protectors, teachers, and leaders. Ryan had shown that even a single human could change the course of history if they acted with courage and heart. As night fell, Lunara and Ryan walked through the city, holding hands. They saw families rebuilding homes, children playing in the streets, and soldiers training together. The future felt alive, filled with possibilities. Ryan stopped and looked up at the stars. "The Dominion may return," he said quietly, "but we are ready. Humanity is not ordinary. We are protectors, and we will always fight for what is right." Lunara rested her head on his shoulder. "And I will always stand with you. Your strength is not just yours. It belongs to all of us who believe in you." He kissed her forehead gently. "Then we will face whatever comes together. The universe may test us, but humanity will never falter." From that night onward, the story of Ryan spread across Terran and beyond. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were known as warriors of courage, symbols of hope, and guardians of peace. And Ryan, the man who had seemed ordinary, became a legend. He had revealed the true strength of humanity, not just in power, but in heart, courage, and the willingness to protect others. Lunara held his hand tightly as they looked out over the city, glowing softly under the twin suns. "You believed you were ordinary," she whispered. "But today everyone knows the truth." Ryan smiled. "Ordinary? No, I am human, and that is my greatest strength." The stars shone brightly above them, and for the first time in centuries the universe seemed calm. Humanity had proven itself, and the bond between humans and Arionians had grown stronger than ever. Together, Ryan and Lunara walked into the future, ready to face any challenge with courage, hope, and love. The storm had passed, but the light they created would shine forever. Terran was safe. Humanity had proven its worth. And a man once thought ordinary had become a hero for an entire world.